It's October 19, 2021. I'm Todd Dunn, and today I'm back in the boat shed. And what I'm going to do today is sand out this wood that I puttied the seams again on yesterday. I'm going to go over this area down here with the longboard again because I can still feel a little irregularity, and just a few minutes with the longboard should improve that. I'll go over this with the random orbital sander to break down the high points. We'll longboard it a little bit, and then this entire area and up forward will be sanded down with 220 grit, and I'm going to put another coat of paint on after that. So let's get going. We're going to start with the random orbital sander. Okay, I've broken the high points off and a lot of the compound off with the 80 grit on the random orbital. Now I'm going to go back to my longboard and just go over this one more time to kind of ferret out. Okay, that was just a quick run over, just give it a little more fairing. And what I'm going to do now is go up here and work on this spot where I put a fairly heavy layer of compound to get rid of a low spot. So that's going to take a couple minutes with the longboard. That feels pretty good except for this lump right at the end, which I'll take down with the random orbital. So that will go fairly quickly. And then we're going to go back, and once I finish taking this last little bit down with the random orbital, I'm going to go over the whole thing with 220, and then we'll be ready to put more paint on. Okay, I've finished sanding that out with 80 grit, so now I'm going to go over it with 220 to get a finish that should be acceptable for paint. At least this first coat over the wood. All right, that does it with 220, so I'm going to wipe this down, and feels nice and smooth now, so we'll wipe it down and put a coat of paint on. For some reason, my camera does not like to film me painting. It shut off sometime while I was applying this paint. Anyway, here's the result. Another coat of paint, just a quick coat. No attempt to make it super smooth or anything. As I said, this is, I don't know if it recorded it, but this is just a first coat to seal the wood a little bit. There was another first coat on, but I mostly sanded that off. And this coat will seal the wood, and will also allow me to look at it along an oblique angle and see how the fairing looks. And from here, it looks pretty good on this plank. You see the bit I did down here doesn't look too bad. Let me walk forward and take a look from further up. Oh yeah, that pretty much got rid of being able to tell where this plank is. I know where it is because it's got wet paint on it, but once this paint dries, I think There are going to be no unsightly lumps or anything up here, and it's going to look pretty good. And my longboarding down here did a pretty good job of getting rid of the lumps there. This paint also points out places where I need a little bit more fairing. There's a spot there, and a spot in here that for some reason is soaking up the paint a little more than it should. The wood may be less than perfect there. I'll probably chisel that out and fill it with fairing compound. And there's a little low spot right here, a little dimple. And as we go forward, a little spot there that could use a touch-up. A little dimple there, another dimple there. So just a few little spots that will need a little bit of putty before the next coat of paint. And I do try to get at least 4 coats of paint on a fall repair like this, so that when I paint the top sides in the spring, I've got a good base to work with. Now let's take a look at the forward part of the hull, which I did sand out and paint off camera. Okay, here's the forward repair. It's pretty much centered on that through hull, the plank above the through hull, and the plank below the through hull. And the main thing this coat of paint is going to do is it shows out some imperfections. I've got a little dimple in the paint here where I apparently dug in with the edge of the sander. Same here. And some chatter marks from my electric plane that I used down here. And a little bit of fairing compound that didn't get sanded out right there. So that's going to be a little bit of extra fairing to do. But this also looks pretty good. Take a look at it from up here. And yeah, it looks pretty fair. The only thing I've got that doesn't look quite fair is there is a little bit of a low spot right there that I may need to fair out a little bit more. Anyway, I'm going to leave this probably over the weekend because the next couple of days are devoted to my Allied Princess 36 sailboat Sequester, which is coming out of the water on Thursday at 10 a.m. It's now about noon on Tuesday, so I still have to winterize my water system and head, change the oil on the sailboat, take the Dodger off, and do a few other things to get it ready to come out of the water. That is pretty much going to eat up my time between now and 10 a.m. on Thursday. So this repair is definitely coming along. A little bit more putty and sanding, and I'll be ready to just apply 3 or 4 more coats of paint this fall to get this ready to paint in the spring. But so far, I'd say the back aft, as you can see there, my repair has pretty much disappeared, which is what I was shooting for. And pretty much the same up here, except for a couple dimples that'll need a little bit of fairing compound, and one low area that will need a little more compound. So I think that we're getting very close to having this repair done, except for painting. So that is probably the last thing I'm going to show you about this repair until spring, when we repaint the entire hull. But this repair here, 3 bits of punky wood, is completed, except for a little minor fairing. The job is done. I've got new wood in, paint is on, and once I paint the entire hull, I'm pretty confident that you will not be able to tell where I did these repairs. So that wraps up this series of videos. Hope you enjoyed these 11 videos about this repair. I tried to break it up into small, sort of bite-sized segments. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you like boat maintenance videos, DIY videos, might be a good idea to subscribe. I'd appreciate it, and click that notification bell so that you'll get an indication of when my next video is posted. And once we get the sailboat out of the water, I'm going to be putting up videos about some maintenance work that I have to do on a sailboat. Not the least of which is last spring I ripped out a piece of the cabin sole and put a new plywood base down, and I will be building a new cherry and white maple cabin sole to replace the bit that I ripped out. So thanks a lot for watching.